Breaking. A new Medicare rule could cancel your COLA raise overnight. That's right, the increase you were promised, the one meant to protect you from rising prices, could vanish before it ever reaches your account. You worked for it, you earned it. Yet in a system stacked against you, they've built a trap that takes it right back. And to understand how this happens, we need to start with the promise they made to you, the promise of COLA. Chapter 1. The COLA Promise versus Reality. They told you COLA would protect you. Every year, Washington stands at the podium and promises that your Social Security check will rise just enough to keep up with inflation. They call it a cost of living adjustment, and it sounds like a safeguard. It sounds like fairness. After all, if prices go up, your check should too. That's the story they want you to believe. But here's the truth you already feel in your bones. The reality never matches the promise. They give you a raise on paper, 2% here, 3% there, and then turn around while the cost of your daily life explodes. You walk into the grocery store and watch the receipt climb higher than last month. You look at your rent notice and see another increase. You pick up your prescription and find the price doubled. That tiny bump in your check doesn't stand a chance against the real cost of living. And you know what hurts the most? They make you feel like you should be grateful, as if 2 or 3% is some kind of gift. Meanwhile, everything that matters, food, gas, housing, healthcare, is climbing far faster than the numbers Washington throws at you. They pat themselves on the back while you wonder how to stretch every dollar. Still, you might tell yourself, something is better than nothing. At least I'm getting a raise. But here's where the story takes a darker turn. Because under this new Medicare rule, even that small raise, the one you were counting on to give you just a little breathing room, can be taken away. Not next year, not later, instantly, quietly, overnight. And most people won't even realize it's happening until it's too late. That's the reality behind this rule, and it's the reason your COLA raise might never actually reach your account. So let's pull back the curtain. Let's talk about this new Medicare rule and how it quietly cancels the very raise you were promised. Chapter 2. The new Medicare rule. Here's where everything shifts. Washington makes a big show of announcing your COLA raise. They use it as proof that the system works, that you are being protected from inflation. But while the cameras are rolling, Medicare is slipping in a rule that changes everything. It doesn't make headlines, it doesn't get explained on the evening news, but it has the power to cancel your raise before you ever see it. Here's how it plays out. The moment your Social Security check goes up, your Medicare premium goes up right alongside it. You think you're getting $40 more a month, but Medicare reaches in and takes $35 of it back, and then they smile and call it an adjustment. That's not an adjustment, that's a shell game. One hand gives while the other hand takes. And the end result is simple: your raise isn't a raise at all. And here's the cruelest part. Most retirees will never realize it's happening. They'll see the COLA announcement, feel a spark of hope, and then stare at their deposit, wondering why it looks almost the same. Some will even think they must have misunderstood the numbers, but no, it's the system working exactly as designed. Because the truth is, this rule isn't about protecting you. It's about protecting the government's balance sheet. It makes sure you never get too far ahead, even when you've earned it. But this is only the beginning, because when that rule kicks in, it sets off a chain reaction, and the first trap it creates is the cruelest one of all: the COLA illusion. Chapter 3. The COLA illusion. On paper, the COLA sounds like a lifeline. Washington announces a 2% increase, maybe 3%, and you think finally some relief. The headlines make it sound generous, like the system is really looking out for you. But here's the illusion. The same moment your COLA raise shows up, your Medicare premiums climb right alongside it. Part B, Part D. All of it eats away at the bump you were promised. That $40 raise, Medicare takes $35, sometimes more. In the end, you are left with $5, maybe nothing at all. And the trick doesn't stop there, because inflation is still running wild. Groceries, gas, rent, prescriptions, they're all climbing faster than your so-called adjustment. Which means even if you keep a sliver of that raise, it's already spent before it ever reaches your account. That's why they call it a cost of living adjustment. But let's be honest, it doesn't adjust your life. It adjusts your expectations. They want you to feel grateful for scraps while they quietly take back everything they just gave you. And here's the real danger. Most retirees don't even see the trap. They wonder why their check feels the same. They assume that's just the way it is. But once you understand this illusion, you realize the system is designed to keep you running in place. And the next trap takes it even further, because it's not just your raise that's at risk. One small increase in income could push you into a whole new bracket, and that's where the real punishment begins. Chapter 4. The bracket creep trick. Now let's talk about the hidden landmine buried inside this system. It's called the Medicare income brackets. And if you've never looked closely at them, that's by design. Because they're not meant to help you, they're meant to trap you. Here's how it works. Medicare sets strict income thresholds. Stay below the line, and your premiums remain steady. Cross that line even by $1 and suddenly you're shoved into a higher bracket. And with that comes a sharp jump in what you pay for Part B and Part D. Think about that. A COLA raise that's supposed to give you $40 a month could end up costing you hundreds, even thousands more a year, simply because it nudges you over an invisible threshold. $1 over the limit, and you lose far more than you gained. That's not fairness. That's a trap. A trap that punishes you for accepting the very raise you were promised. And once you're in that higher bracket, it's not easy to climb back down. The system locks you in, squeezing your retirement budget tighter every single year. And here's what makes it even worse. The Social Security check you worked for your entire life doesn't just affect your Medicare premiums. It also affects your taxes. Because the moment your COLA raise pushes your provisional income higher, another trap is triggered: the brutal reality of double taxation. Chapter 5, Double Taxation. You already paid into the system your whole working life. Every paycheck, money came out for Social Security, for Medicare, for federal taxes. You did your part, you followed the rules, and you assumed that once retirement came, at least some of that money would finally come back to you without strings attached. But here's the shocker most retirees don't see until it's too late. Your Social Security benefits can be taxed all over again. Up to 85% of the very check you already earned is treated as taxable income. That means the COLA raise you thought would help you? It could actually trigger a higher tax bill. Here's how it happens. When your provisional income goes up, and remember, your Social Security plus, that COLA raise counts toward it, the IRS steps in. The more you make, the more of your benefits become taxable. So instead of enjoying the extra money, you are forced to send a chunk of it right back to Washington. Think about the absurdity of that. You paid income taxes when you earned it. You paid payroll taxes through FICA. And now, in retirement, they tax it again simply because you got a cost of living adjustment. That's not relief. That's double taxation. And it doesn't stop there. Because while taxes chip away at one side, inflation is eating away at the other, which means even if you manage to hang on to part of your raise, rising prices make sure it never feels like more in your pocket. And that brings us straight into the next trap, the inflation squeeze, where COLA raises are exposed as nothing more than a cruel illusion. Chapter 6, The Inflation Squeeze. COLA was supposed to be your shield against inflation. That was the promise that no matter how much prices climb, your Social Security check would rise to match it. On paper, that sounds fair. On paper, it sounds like protection. But here's what really happens. The government calculates COLA using a formula that doesn't reflect your reality. They base it on the spending habits of workers, not retirees. That means the categories that matter most to you, housing, healthcare, prescriptions, don't weigh heavily enough. So even when they give you a raise, it's already outdated. It doesn't match the costs you actually face. You see it every day. The grocery bill doesn't wait for Washington's formula. Rent hikes don't pause until the COLA announcement. And your Medicare premiums? They rise right on schedule, gobbling up the tiny raise you were just promised. The result is brutal. Even in years with generous COLA increases, retirees are still falling behind. The adjustment was never designed to help you get ahead. It was designed to make sure you don't complain while you quietly lose purchasing power year after year. That's the inflation squeeze. It's not protection. It's a slow bleed. And it leaves you asking the same question millions of other seniors are asking. If COLA doesn't cover my costs, and Medicare takes back what I'm given, then who is this system really serving? The answer becomes clear when you look at the people writing the rules. Because while you're fighting to stretch every dollar, politicians in Washington are enjoying gold-plated pensions and first-class perks paid for by the very system that keeps you stuck. And that takes us straight into the next chapter, the rigged game. Chapter 7, the rigged game. Now let's pull back the curtain. Because if you've ever wondered why the system feels stacked against you, it's not by accident. It's rigged. Look at the people writing the rules. Members of Congress retire with six-figure pensions. They fly first class, enjoy premium healthcare for life, and never worry about choosing between groceries and prescriptions. Meanwhile, millions of seniors, people who built this country, paid into the system every paycheck, are scraping by on $15,000 to $20,000 a year. That's not retirement. That's survival. And here's the cruel irony. The The same lawmakers who promised COLA would protect you are the ones quietly designing rules that cancel it out. They call it policy. They call it adjustment. I call it betrayal. The truth is, COLA was never meant to make you comfortable. It was meant to manage your expectations, to keep you quiet while the people in power live with privileges you'll never see. But here's the part they don't want you to realize. You're not powerless. You don't have to accept this rigged system as your fate. There are ways to protect yourself, to fight back, and to legally keep more of the raise you've earned. And that brings us to the next chapter: how you can protect your COLA raise before it disappears. Chapter 8. Protecting your raise. You can't control what Washington does. You can't stop them from making rules behind closed doors. But here's what you can do. You can control how you respond. You can structure your retirement income in ways that protect your COLA raise, instead of letting it slip through the cracks. Here's the truth: most retirees don't realize they have options. They think the system is fixed and there's nothing they can do. But that's not true. There are legal, straightforward strategies that can keep more money in your pocket. The first strategy is to keep your provisional income as low as possible. Remember, the higher that number climbs, the more of your Social Security gets taxed. By using tools like Roth accounts, or by drawing from tax-free sources instead of piling up taxable income, you can protect your raise from being clawed back. The second strategy is watching your Medicare brackets. Those thresholds are landmines. Go $1 over, and you get punished with higher premiums. But with careful planning, spreading out withdrawals, managing your income timing, you can avoid getting pushed into the next bracket. The third strategy is choosing your healthcare plan wisely. Too many retirees stick with the default option without realizing that different plans can lead to dramatically different out-of-pocket costs. The wrong choice can swallow your raise. The right choice can save you thousands. Now, these aren't loopholes. They aren't tricks. They're smart legal ways to make the system work for you instead of against you. And here's the best part: once you understand them, you can finally stop feeling powerless. Because this isn't about Washington giving you more. It's about you keeping what you've already earned. And to see just how real this is, let's look at the difference between two retirees, one who ignored the traps and one who fought back. Chapter 9. Real-world examples. Let me show you exactly how this plays out in real life. Because this isn't theory. This is happening right now to retirees just like you. Take one retiree who ignored the traps. He saw the COLA announcement, got excited about the raise, and never thought about how Medicare premiums or taxes would respond. A few months later, he checked his bank account and realized his deposit hadn't gone up at all. In fact, after Medicare adjustments and tax season rolled around, he was taking home less than before. His so-called raise had vanished into thin air. Now compare that to another retiree who planned ahead. She looked at her income sources, shifted some money into tax-free accounts, and carefully timed her withdrawals. She stayed under the Medicare thresholds and kept her provisional income low. When her COLA raise hit, it actually stayed in her pocket. In 1 year alone, she saved thousands of dollars just by avoiding the traps. That's the difference. One person lets the system chew up their raise, the other takes control and keeps it. Same rules, same COLA, completely different results. And this is the proof you need. Because yes, a new Medicare rule can cancel your COLA raise overnight. But if you understand how the system works, you can stop it from happening to you. And that brings us to the big payoff, the truth you've been waiting for. Chapter 10. Why your raise disappears overnight. Here it is, the truth behind the headlines, the reason you never feel the raise you were promised. Yes, a new Medicare rule can cancel your COLA raise overnight. The moment your Social Security check goes up, your Medicare premium rises with it. The little extra you were counting on is swallowed before you can even touch. That's not protection. That's theft disguised as policy. And it doesn't stop there. That raise pushes you closer to higher tax brackets. It makes more of your Social Security taxable. It exposes you to higher Medicare premiums. One adjustment triggers another, until what you thought was a boost turns into a bill. That's why it feels like you're running in place. Because you are. The system was designed to look like it's helping you, while making sure you never actually get ahead. They want you to believe COLA is a gift. But the reality is simple. It's an illusion. Here's what you need to remember. You earned that raise. You paid into the system for decades. It belongs to you. And if you don't take steps to protect it, the government will quietly take it back overnight, without warning, without apology. That's the big payoff. The rule is real, the traps are real, and the choice is real. You can either let the system decide for you, or you can fight back and keep what's yours.